In this video, let's look at how we can simplify fractions. Suppose you and your friend bought a pizza which was already cut into 6 slices. So this is how it would look. And the good friends that you are, you decide to share it equally. This is your share of the pizza, which is 3/6. Now what if the pizza already came cut into 8 slices? Again, you decide to share it equally. So this is your share of the pizza, and that is 4/8. But if you were to think of it simply, you would just say, oh, I ate half of the pizza, which means that 3/6 is the same as 4/8 is the same as half. And there are infinite different equivalent fractions that have the same value as half. But we say that 1/2 is the simplest form. So let me write that down, is the simplest form of the fraction 1/2. So 3/6, 4/8, and there are other ways to write an equivalent fraction that has the same value as half, but 1/2 is the simplest form of the fraction 1/2. Let's look at a formal definition of the simplest form of a fraction. A fraction is in the simplest form if the numerator and the denominator share no common factors other than 1. If you look at 3/6, 3 and 6 have a common factor that is 3. And if you look at 4/8, 4 and 8 have a common factor that's 4. So these two are not in the simplest form. But if you look at 1/2, 1 and 2, the only common factor they share is 1. And that is why 1/2 is in the simplest form. Fractions in simplest form are also called fractions in lowest terms. Now let's look at how we can simplify a fraction if we are given a fraction. So let me get rid of this. Suppose we are given the fraction 18/24, and visually this is how it would look. You have 24 small parts, out of which 18 parts are shaded. The way you would simplify this fraction is by cancelling out, let me write this down, and it's a really important concept, by cancelling the common factors. If we look at 18/24, 18 and 24 are both even numbers. So we know that they have 2 as a common factor. And the way I can cancel out the common factor is by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. The way this would look visually is like this. So what I'm doing is grouping together 2 small parts into a bigger part, and now instead of 24 small parts, I have 12 parts, of which 9 are shaded. If I look at 9/12, again I know that 9 and 12 share 3 as a common factor, so I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3. And I will get 3/4. And the way to express this visually is I take 3 small parts, pack them together, and it becomes one big part. And if I keep doing this, now I have 4 large parts, out of which 3 are shaded. So this is 3/4. And so 3/4 is the simplest form of 18/24. Let's take another example. Let's take 96/144. There are two ways of cancelling the common factors. One is where you divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. The other is, I know that 2 is a common factor for both 96 and 144. So I can rewrite 96 as 48 times 2. And I can rewrite 144 as 72 times 2. Which is really the same as 48 over 72 times 2 over 2. And 2 over 2, that is 2 divided by 2, is 1. So I can cancel that out. And so this is 48 over 72. Again, I have 2 as a common factor, so I can rewrite this as 24 times 2 divided by 36 times 2. Since 2 is a common factor, I can cancel it out. And this is the same as 24/36. Now I notice that 12 is a common factor for both 24 and 36. So let me rewrite that as 2 times 12 over 3 times 12. And I cancel out the common factor. And so my simplest form is 2/3 because now 2 and 3 have no other factor that's common other than 1. So 2/3 is the simplest form of the fraction 96/144. So you see there are two ways of cancelling out the common factors. One is where you divide both the numerator and denominator by the common factor. And the second is where you express the numerator and the denominator. So you express the numerator as the common factor times a number and the denominator as the common factor times a number, and then you cancel out the common factor. Both ways are essentially the same and both are equally valid. So it's up to you to decide which you find more convenient.